Hey guys, this is Anna Dolopo, and today I'm going to be doing another video. I believe this is my 14th video for my Happy Club. It's either my 14th or 15th, so bear with me. I should have checked before I went in here. But today I really had the intention of, actually this is going to be my 16th vlog, my 16th. So, I wanted to make a video on accepting yourself and saying that I am enough, but something has come up as of last night, and I feel inspired to make a video, especially for women. But if you're not a woman, you can watch this video. But if you are a woman, um, I'm going to be edifying some very specific people, and I'm going to start with my mom, and I'm going to talk about other women. And if I've tagged you on this video, it's because you're mentioned. Um, but there are some women that I know in my life that are just killing it in life. And if I didn't mention you, it's not that I don't see what you're doing. It's not that I don't admire you. I just, kind of giving. There are just certain things that I'm really turned on by these women, and what caused this inspiration was there's a woman, let's call her W. She texted me last night, and she's in my Happy Club, and she just messaged me out of the blue, and she asked me some questions, and the vein of the questions basically were about making decisions for myself, how I've been able to make decisions for myself without pissing off my husband. That's a very, straightforward way to do things. I mean, if you know me, I have my own practice. This is my 20th year in practice. My practice came way before my husband. I started studying Chinese medicine in 1994. I started practice in 1999. I met my husband, well, we were acquaintances for 11 years. And when I say acquaintances, we did not have conversations. So we were really acquaintances for 11 years. So I met him in 2001, like really met him, and we just hit it off like we'd never connected like that before. And then we just knew when we wanted to get married, and we got married in 2002, a month before he turned 29, 2 months before I turned 29. And then shortly after, when we were 30, so we were 28 when we got married, and when we were 30, we started raising our family. And our children are now 14, 8, and 1. So going back to, the meat of this inspiration, she wanted to know how I'm able to do things and not piss off my husband. So I like to frame it in a different way. My husband's very unique. He's a rare breed, and someone like him who's very patient with an entrepreneurial wife is a cultivated man, in the sense of his family cultivated him to be the way he is. He has a very strong mom. His parents are married, and I think they've been married for 40 something years now, something wonderful like that. And he has two older sisters who have definitely had an impact on how he views the world from a woman's perspective. I can go for 3 hours talking about that, but I won't today. And when he was 10, his niece was born, and he had a huge part in raising that child, who is now, Andrew is now 45, and his niece just turned 35. So he's been a huge influence on her. I don't think you can talk to Andrew and not ever, you can talk to him for maybe, let's say, 3 hours, and somehow his niece's name is going to come into the conversation. And his whole upbringing revolved around that child's upbringing. So he had a lot of powerful women, and his dad was a strong force in his life, and he still is, but that's a lot of female energy. So the reason why I bring that up is because I'm an only child, and I have two parents whom I have seen have businesses. My dad still owns his business, barbershop, and my mom worked for the Hilton when I was younger, and she's always had another job. But for many years also, there were some times when she didn't have another job. She had her own business. I remember her working full-time and having a full-time business on the side. She did that for a long time. I saw her really bust her butt working 2 full-time jobs and doing really well. And I just saw how how much time and work and energy goes into fulfilling the dreams that you want, doing what you want, doing exactly what you want to accomplish what you want, not just giving the bare minimum to earn a paycheck. They, I saw my parents sacrifice, and so um, being an only child, and most of my families are in the Philippines or in other countries, in Japan and England and Saudi Arabia, and you know wherever, and in this country and in Canada, um, and on Australia. Everyone, I have a lot of family, but they're in other states or other countries. And so it was essentially just my parents and me. And I got to see exactly how my parents ran things in order to pay for the things that they wanted. Now, at the same time, I got to see hard work. I didn't necessarily always see a, um, a rich mindset, which they acquired later in life, but it was a lot of I have to work hard to get what I want. It wasn't until later that I started learning that if I think different ways, I can accumulate more financial success without as much labor. So, and we'll talk about that another time. I know I'm leaving that to be very, very vague right now. So going back to what my friend was saying, W, how do I do things like how do I make decisions without pissing off my husband? I don't look at it like that. I look at it like when I joined the Global Information Network, I did that to benefit myself. And I knew that by by enriching myself, that it was going to empower my business, it was going to empower my personal self, and it was going to just make our lives richer. Um, when I made the decision to, you know, stop doing any martial arts from when I was pregnant with my first child, and I made the decision to start training again 1 year after my second child, that was a total of 8 years. That was a decision I made. My husband had no part of that. He didn't say, you should still continue to train, or he didn't say, you shouldn't train, you shouldn't do any martial arts, you shouldn't do any kickboxing, you shouldn't do any jiu-jitsu, you shouldn't do any boxing. He didn't say any of that. He just kind of just went along with it, always trusting that what I was going to do was going to benefit me. And that sounds self-serving, but here's the benefit of everything. When you do something that you know is going to benefit you, it just somehow will flow into your family. How can you not improve yourself? How can you improve yourself and not improve everyone else? So I never looked at it like I'm going to join Global Information Network and I know it's going to piss off my husband. Yes, there was a financial sacrifice that I had to make, but something that I shared with her in text last night was, you look at it as an expense. I look at it as self-enriching. I learn a lot in regards to marketing. I learn a lot in regards to networking. I learn a lot in regards to how to conduct business better. So I don't look at it like, oh, this is just another expense. This isn't, doing something for my personal enrichment always helps me be a better person. Therefore, I can also be a better businesswoman. Does that make sense? So I've gone this year alone, and my son barely turned 1 in October, to how many seminars? I went to quite a few acupuncture seminars. I'm going to be even doing more now that I'm going to be teaching. I've gone to jiu-jitsu seminars, and one of the seminars for personal development was in Chicago. We had our Global Information Network training in Chicago, and guess what? I signed my daughter up from the 9 a.m. to the 1 p.m. training for the youth, and she benefited so much. She didn't learn anything about anti-bullying. She learned about how to be compassionate. She learned how to be responsible. She learned how to care for others. She learned how to write down her goals. She learned how to focus on what it takes to attain those goals. So, and she was taught how to treat people with love and respect and compassion. Does it sound anti-bullying to you? Yes, it is, but it's very much in the same paradigm as the Waldorf program that I have my kids in. Angelin was at the Waldorf-inspired public school from kindergarten. It's a charter school from kindergarten through eighth, and there was never any conversation there about anti-bullying, but there was always talk about compassion. And in that school, that trickles, that compassion, that love and respect for people trickles from the administration all down. So there's no need to talk about anti-bullying. That's like when Mother Teresa was alive. She didn't talk about protesting war. She talked about rallying for peace. Do you see the difference? I'm not saying that people should not protest, but just the paradigm, the thinking process is different. So let me talk about my mom a little bit, and then there's some other women that I really want to talk about. My mom just retired this year. All my life, I saw her work as an accountant, and she really worked very hard. She studied accounting in the Philippines. I think it was University of the East. And then when she moved here I remember when she was in Guam, she said she taught herself how to drive a stick shift. Or she forced my dad to teach her how to drive a stick shift. It was not easy for them to do that because my dad was really adamant against my mom to drive. What happened was my dad married a woman who was very self-driven, very determined, and she doesn't really take no for an answer. But he was a really strong-willed, you know, um, like typically raised at that for that generation Filipino man who controlled everything, whereas my mom was more like, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. So she learned how to drive, and my dad didn't want her to work, and she ended up, she'd been working since she was young. She's the youngest of 11, and she knows what it was like to starve. So she wasn't going to um, she worked as an accountant for her favorite uncle in the Philippines who was super wealthy. And she had gone, my family, long story short, had gone from super wealthy to super poor by the time she was born. So growing up, she learned how to really struggle. But as a child, she learned I don't know if someone taught her, but she just always knew to dream. And she told herself that one day she was going to go to she was going to leave the Philippines. She was going to go to America. She was going to have some cars. She was going to have a house. She was going to work in America, and she was, going to travel. Growing up, I kept hearing her talk about this RV and traveling and RV and traveling, and those dreams have come true. And as of last year, my mom has gone to every country that she's wanted to go to, and she's gone to 5 continents so far, and that was as of last year. She said now every country that she goes to now is going to be bonus. So this year she went to Brazil, then she went to that same trip. She went to Uruguay, and she went to Argentina, and she thought she was done with travel for the rest of the year. But lo and behold, my godmother would also like to travel. So in a few days, they're going to be leaving to Germany and the Czech Republic, and then they're going to be going to Poland. And these are all dreams for my mom. And I remember um, several years ago, I had my mom learning stuff, and I had her actually join the Global Information Network. And she started writing her goals down. Now, my mom has always been writing her goals down, but something special about my mom was that she started teaching me when I was very little to write down my goals. And that's been a huge component to my upbringing. But the training engine just expanded her mind more. And if you go to my mom's house, especially in her bathroom, she has these books, and she's taken that training to another level. And I'm so proud of her because she doesn't see limits. She doesn't see any limitations. And I remember telling her a month ago that people have asked me, are your parents divorced, or is your mom a widow? And she said, why? Because I'm not tied to your dad's hip. And she was laughing. And I said, yeah, well, some people just assume that since you travel so much that that dad's either dead or, um, uh, or you guys are divorced because she has so much freedom. Again, along the same vein that my patient had asked me, like, how do you do things, Anna, without pissing off your husband? Well, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. My mom is doing things really without my dad's consent. He's just kind of gotten used to, well, this is Remy. I can't tell you exactly what happened along their marriage where she just said, I'm going to go do this, but she's going ahead and doing it. I remember when, forgive me, I'm so excited about this. I know this is not coming off super solid and super organized. I'm kind of just going with my thought processes, but hopefully you're kind of getting a flow of my thoughts. I remember 2011. It's the year that I tripled the size of my office. I remember she kept talking about getting an RV, and so either she got it late 2010 or 2011, and she kept talking about going to Graceland. And I told her that, now this was like in the transition part between going from Suite 109, which is 488 square feet, to this office, which is 1590 square feet. And I wasn't sure if it was going to go through or not. And I said, you know what, if it does not go through, then I'll go with you. But I'm thinking, I have 2 children, one being 1-year-old at that time and one being 7. And I wasn't going to drive with her on the RV because just from here to Yosemite, which is a 5-hour drive, ended up being a 9-hour drive. So I didn't want to, do that to my kids and me on our trip to Graceland. I said, if I'm going to meet you, I'm just going to fly over there. My mom drove from San Diego to Graceland and drove back all on her own in her RV. My dad was resistant against it. Long story short, she was a trucker. She left around 9 a.m. and she arrived at every destination around 3 or 4. She always checked in as 2 people, and she was fearless. My dad kept warning her about the KKK and weather issues, and back then our phones didn't have, hour to hour temperature. What to expect, what the weather would be like. It was by the day. And she then was still even thinking ahead of herself. She said, Ann, what's the weather going to be like at 3 o'clock in, this part of Texas? And I said, I don't know, Mom. And I remember Drew, who's in IT, my husband, he said, they haven't made that technology yet. And it's funny that my mom had that vision. She was probably thinking, why don't they? Because I need to know what the weather is going to be. Is it going to be showery? Is it going to be stormy? Is it going to be windy? That was my mom's process. Now, when she came back from Graceland, she had an amazing time, by the way. They went to the RV store to, I guess, buy something new or have it checked up. And my dad, who was resistant against it at first, her trip to Graceland, was bragging about my mom. Excuse me. He was bragging about my mom, and he was like, "Oh yeah, she went to Graceland." Like, he went from totally resistant against it against her trip to Graceland by herself, because the RV was relatively new, and then. Right after that, and by the way, when my mom came home with her first RV, before the RV, my mom kept saying, I'm gonna buy an RV. I'm gonna buy an RV. And my dad was like not having it. And then when she came home, at the time it was a Navion, my dad's response was, why did you get such a small RV? Which is hilarious because he went from resisting the RV to finally to saying, well, if you're going to get one, why didn't you get a bigger one? So going back to her trip after Graceland, when they went to the store, my dad's bragging about my mom. Then he sells that RV and he trades it in, and he gets this Mercedes RV. It's a Winnebago with a Mercedes engine, and they love it. It's perfect for them. It's perfect for my mom to be able to drive. It's perfect. They've got exactly what they need. And they've taken so many trips. I can't even tell you how many trips. But on an international level, my mom travels by herself. I'm just on the top of my head, she's gone to India. That dream she's had since she was 16. And I remember when she went, she hired a photographer to follow her. I don't know the whole trip, but definitely when she arrived, she had a photographer take pictures of her in the traditional Indian garb, and she had her finger over uh, the Taj Mahal. I mean, my mom was just lit with energy, and it was so fun to see that. And she's been to Jerusalem. She went with my church my home church here in Orange County, and uh, she went with Father John, who's now a bishop it's an Episcopalian church. He's now a bishop in Los Angeles, and she's been to Greece, and when I had to go to Taiwan to celebrate my master's life, she had come with us primarily to help me with my kids. Um, she's gone to Spain and Portugal. Oh, she's been to God, so many places. I can't even think of all the places right now, but my mom has been to many, many countries. And if she were here, she'd be able to list all the countries that she's been to. And she's so happy. And that makes me so happy. And that comes down to her writing down her goals and just saying, I'm going to do that, and not letting anyone get in her way. So to answer W's question, how do I do things without pissing off my husband? I don't do things with the intention of not pissing off my husband. I do things because I know it's going to benefit me, just like I know my mom goes and travels because it's going to benefit her. When she goes to Germany and Czech Republic and Poland, she's not doing it to not piss off my dad, oh God, I hope, Manny doesn't get upset. She's doing it because that's her goal. The way she sees it is she's still young, and she wants to see the world, and that's what she's using her retirement money for. So that's something that, following through with goals, to write them down is one thing, but to follow through is another thing. And one thing about my mom is that she just imagines what she wants to do, and she has the faith of a mustard seed that God's going to move mountains to make things happen. And so she was part of the Global Information Network for a hot year, and she got what she needed, and she moved on. I'm still in it, and I use the material for other things, but does that inspire me? Does her story inspire me? Totally. And I've given you a portion of my mom's. She's a total hero for me, and I've given you just a small portion of what my mom's life is and how it inspires me. I want to share a few messages that I shared with my friend on text. One thing that we all have is choices, and that you make your own decisions. So, with the whole attracting your life, the things in your life, with the whole, you create your own reality. What that means is basically you have a choice when you wake up. You have many choices. You don't have to get out of bed. You don't have to go to work. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to try to succeed. The choice is yours. You can just stay home and relax and just do whatever you need to do until they turn the lights off. It's up to you to make your decisions and then follow through with those decisions and see what the outcome is. So if what you want to create is one thing, then you have to go in that direction. It's not just going to come to you. You can't just sit there and meditate and things come to you. You can meditate on what you want, but you have to have the insight and, the drive to go do what you need to do to achieve it. I didn't say I want to be an acupuncturist and just sit there. I sought out which school I wanted to go to, and I applied, and I did what I had to do for financial aid, and I enrolled in the school, and I went to school. If I didn't go to school, then it was a waste of time, and it would have been a waste of money. I did what I had to do to go to classes to get the grades that I wanted. You have a choice. You don't have to get A's, you don't have to get B's, you don't have to get C's. You can flunk out of school, or if you want to do well, you have to work towards it. You can't just meditate and then the grades come to you. You have to create the grades that you want, and the grades that you want will be reflective of how much you decide to study. So, you know, meditation is one thing, and it's very important to visualize what you want, and it's very important to put your mind in this, this frame where, the environment going on here is it's nurturing towards the goals that you want to achieve. So in creating your decisions, just know you have choices. So for this particular woman, my friend, who is thinking about making that leap to joining the Global Information Network, which just came out of the blue because I had talked about it before at length. She's just now being serious for her own reasons. I would say that, it's a choice to not be in it, and it's a choice to be in it. And I've been in it since 2011. I started listening in 2009 and 2010. Just amazing things happened. And just by listening, I made more money than I had since 1999 when I started practice, just by thinking a certain way. And I gave birth in 2010. I thought I was going to make less money that year just because I gave birth. But that wasn't the case. I was in for the first time, this light turned on in my brain where I was just really positive and really self-motivated. And I just had so much energy. I was already doing pretty well because I met Dr. Tan in 2006. So from 99 to 2006, I had struggled. 2006, March 6th until January 24, 2007, I finally became fully self-employed as an acupuncturist. And then stuff started happening and I wanted more. And that more doesn't always necessarily mean money. There was more that I wanted. And that's when this gift of Your Wish is Your Command came to me by someone that I don't even know. It was just a message that was given to me on Facebook. And I can't even thank that person. And then I told you what happened in 2010, 2011, I tripled the size of my office. It just came to that point. And I'm definitely not at the pinnacle of where I want to be, but I've been doing well since then. And 2012, towards the end, I just, long story short, I said a prayer again. That was very, very specific. I was ready for a mentor. In 2013, I met him. And now, he's the godfather of my son. And for those of you who know me, you know what that man means to me. His training and his family and his son's training and everything that Chris McGarahan and Chris McGarahan Jr. has taught, and his circle of friends that's in Global Information Network and circle of friends outside of Jin have really inspired me from what I watch online and from what I, whenever I'm in his presence and when I'm with people who are in Jin, I really pay attention. I do a lot of listening and observing at what they do and how I can make my life better. And again, I don't follow what they do based on, I hope I don't piss off my husband. I follow what they do because there's a level of success that they have that I want. So, this can be for money, this can be for relationships, this can be for how people manage their priorities, how they're handling their time, how they're, working on being focused in life day in and day out. One thing that I shared with my friend yesterday was success is the best revenge. And there were some people who were resistant to me being part of Jen in the beginning. And I thought to myself, that's none of your business. This is my business, and I know what I need to do in order to increase my business. It's my personal business as to what I do with my business and how I allocate my funds and what I have to do to maneuver in life in order to achieve more. So when you can succeed, just know from where the moment you make a decision and where you want to be, there's got to pass some time. So if you want to drive from here to Florida, you're not going to be there in half a day. You're just not. So just be patient with yourself and just have faith that as you go on, take the next logical step and you'll be at the next step and the next step and the next step. And sometimes you'll just go straight and you'll hit Orlando, Florida from San Diego. But more than likely not, because when you're on a flight or if you're in a car, you have to take some detours. You have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to rest. It's the same thing with life. You have these decisions. I mean, like when I studied Chinese medicine, I barely had turned 20. And at PCOM, I was one of two 20-year-olds, and a handful of us were in our 20s. And where I was in 1994 and where I am now in 2018 are two totally different people. And in 1999, when I had this, these goals on what I wanted to be and what I wanted to accomplish, there was something I had when I was 26 that I don't have now. I was 26. I had my youth. But what has happened from when I was 26 to this month that I'm turning 45, I've I received, more and more experience. My number of tools on how to treat people and my thought processes on how to be a better acupuncturist, how to be a better marketer, how to handle business better. All the business acumen that I've had to accumulate over time, it cost part of my youth. It cost me years. And I'm not even yet where I want to be because there's so much more to attain. And I look forward to that. So, and what's cool is that I have a husband that understands that knows that when I took the risk to join Global Information Network, when I took the risk to follow Dr. Tan, when I took the risk to go into practice and stop working with other people. It took me 10 years to sign my first lease. When I took the risk to quit Burke Williams in January 24, 2007, when I took the risk to be fully self-employed, every time I take a risk, he's never said to me, you can't do it. So if, W, if you're watching this and if your husband says, you can't do it, I would take that as a wonderful challenge for yourself. And, really, the one thing I'm going to quote from Tom Bilyeu in The Power of a Growth Mindset. I watched it twice today and I sent it to Chris because I'm just like, I love this story. I want to have a story like this. And the fact that I'm even saying it publicly puts me on the spot, but I really want a story like that. The best gift that anyone can give you is doubt. And when you hear that, it just like penetrates right here in my heart. I believe that. And which basically means, dude, if your husband doubts that you can succeed, you went to USC, this woman, W, went to USC. You went to SC. That's an awesome school. So what did you learn there? When you went to college, for all of us who are, institution educated, we went to school we had to have faith that by going to school, we were going to learn more, right? I mean, you just kind of have to believe that, right? I went to USF. I didn't enroll at USF thinking that I wasn't going to learn anything. Of course, when you enroll in any program, you're going to learn something. So when I joined Gin, I knew I was going to learn something. When I started studying jiu-jitsu, I knew I was going to learn something. Something that I want to share. On Saturday, I made the decision earlier in the week to take this no-gi seminar at our gym. It was taught by Alex Vieira, and he's from Brazil, and it was an amazing no-gi seminar. I made that decision myself. I made the decision to take that no-gi seminar myself. My husband has the kids on Saturday. He had so many things that he needed to do. And initially, he was just going to go to Home Depot and have a meeting with them and start working on the kitchen. But then there were all these things that the girls needed to do. One had dress rehearsal and one had a performance. And he had the baby. But then when he found out that I was going to this no-gi seminar, he was like, well, I want to go. He decided that he wanted to go. I didn't make the decision with him. I didn't ask him, would you like to go with me? Sometimes I'll do that, but, he already told me what his decision was, what he was going to do on Saturday. So I made my decision to go to the seminar. It was a phenomenal 2-hour seminar. I learned so much. and I'm already incorporating my game. I think it was just life-changing. It was a jiu-jitsu seminar, and there were life-changing techniques in that seminar. It's jiu-jitsu for me is a hobby. How much more do you think I obtain when I go to Global Information Network seminars and anything else that I join? What do you think that I get when I go to acupuncture seminars? Do you think I show up and I don't learn anything? That's the point of these seminars. That's the point of any audio training. You know, if I'm not studying gym training, if I'm not watching a personal development video, I'm watching a jiu-jitsu seminar or a jiu-jitsu video. What do you think I'm learning? Or do you think I'm just sitting there? So for W, and for any woman watching, I'm not day in and day out thinking, oh, I hope my husband approves of this. That's not my, motive at all. I'm thinking about what I need to do better, because guess what? I think that when I'm better, everyone's happier, right? My kids get to see what, I want my daughters to learn that. I want them to see that when mommy does something, it's because she wants to do it and she's going to do something with it. And for everyone who stood in front of me and said, you can't do this, and I went through them, against them, over them, around them, underneath them, or bulldozed through them, or anything that stood in my way, I hope you know now that, it's not about trying to prove people wrong. It's about what I can be, meaning my potential. One thing that I texted her was that I'd rather go to the grave with my dreams fulfilled rather than going to the grave not having tried. You have to try. I think Les Brown has a saying, something about so many people go to the graveyard with their music still in their hearts. And that should make you cry. Because if you go to the grave saying, I could have done this, if I took this route, if I made that risk, I could have been this. That's the worst thing that you could do. And that's something that I share here with women. So, I know what it's like to be in dysfunctional homes, and that's not my home anymore. And I'm so proud of my mom that she's moved on with her life, and she says, I'm going to go there, and she does it. So some of the things that when W asked me, the vein of this conversation is, well, how do you deal with this anger? I said the best answer is the one that, she said, what did Drew do when you went ahead and joined? What did you say to him? Because she's trying to formulate what to say to her husband when she tells him that she joined. Because she hasn't joined yet, but she wants to. And that's your decision. I'm not trying to influence anyone. All I do is what I'm going to do. And if you see that it makes me happy, and it's something that you think can make you happy, you should do what makes you happy. I said the best answer is the one that pops up when you close your eyes. So if you're concerned about, I want to do this, but I wonder what someone's going to think about it, that's the wrong thinking right there. You need to do what's right for you. And I promise you, everyone has to mold around what's right for you. Something that she wrote was, her husband telling her, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting like a child? Don't you see that whatever your decision is, it's affecting us? That's the point. The point is when you make a decision, it's going to affect you guys. So how can allowing her to make her dreams come true not benefit him? That's something that, like I said, how my husband thinks has been cultivated. So when I told my husband, I'm going to go ahead and do this, guess what? He had already seen me increase my financial value, what I bring to the table in 2010 than I had in 2009, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, when we had gotten married October 5, 2002. So that is the point. Whatever the decision is, if it's right for you, trust me, it's going to be right for everyone if your heart is pure and the decision is authentic and you know exactly what you want to get out of it. And trust me, when you make a decision that's right for you, you will get more out of it than you can possibly imagine. I know I'm getting heated up about this, but I'm sharing some things that it was a good conversation, and it was stimulating her mindset. And it's very ironic that she went to USC and she feels so limited. Because when people think University of Southern California, they think of people who are empowered. Your empowerment, I don't care what school you go to, if you go to San Diego State or if you go to some elite private college that only has 400 students, your thinking process should be, what can I do to benefit me that can serve the world? How can you serve yourself and serve others? And if you can put that first, trust me, you will see people around you benefit. And that is really the driving force. If you're an acupuncturist and you're watching this and you know that I have those two websites, and you're like, how'd you get all those testimonials and those 210 plus Yelp reviews? It's because I knew that improving myself, I would improve others. It's not the other way around. You do not look at other people and say, how could I make them better? And then hopefully I'll become better. That's why I'm not a resentful mother. I have to work on myself so that my kids say, you know what, when they grow old one day, when they grow up one day, they'll say, I remember my mom did this for her and how it benefited us as a family. I told my patient, I just want to is a very valuable and powerful answer. Something that is a repeatable statement I make here in my office is just saying, I want to. Why do you have to say anything else? I want to do this. It makes me happy. Another thing that my patients have benefited from was saying, I don't have to. If someone asks something of you, and women are notorious for this, where we will do things for others and then we bitch about it later because we really didn't want to. Well, why'd you do it? Why put yourself through that? Why put yourself through this situation that you don't want to? Why cook dinner for a bunch of people because your mother-in-law wants you to do that? My in-laws don't force me to do anything. You should always be in a position where you're wanting to give more. But if you're in a situation where you just don't want to, then don't do it. Otherwise, if you're going to do it with this heart of hatred and resentment, it's not worth doing it. The food's not going to taste good. You know what I mean? It's like if you don't want to do something and it really goes against your fiber, every fiber of your being, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So really pay attention to that statement. I want to. And see what happens. I lost 3 friends this year from cancer. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Why not take the risk today? If you don't want to do something, say, I don't want to. Just, I don't want to. It's okay. There's something in my training which is, I care but not that much. I pay every month to learn that. I care but not that much. I have a jiu-jitsu girlfriend named Dina, and she has taught me this very valuable statement. Not my monkey, not my circus. I remember I would bring something up about someone, and I was just like, I'm concerned about her. And she goes, Anna, not your monkey, not your circus. And it brought me back to my training. I care, but not that much. And then it instantly took off the weight. Why burden yourself with things that you can't control? That is a very valuable statement right there. If you can't control it, don't worry about it too much, because people are going to do what they're going to do, which is the whole essence of this video. I need this to make my life better. You can say that about anything. If it's to get a master's degree, if it's to get a PhD, if it's to start a business, if it's to join gym, if it's to join my happy club, if it's to, go to a seminar, if it's to join a martial art, I went to that thing on Saturday. I had no business going because I normally work Saturdays. It was right in the middle of the day, 2 to 4. But I moved things around, and it was at the end of the day the same thought process. I want to do this because it's going to make my life better. And it was going to be, and it was, a very busy and intense day. My husband had to drive one child who's 8 years old to her dress rehearsal 3 hours early. He had to drive the other one who had a performance at 6, but the call time was at 4. He had to drop her off at 1:30 in San Juan Capistrano. So he went from Mission Viejo to San Juan Capistrano, and he drove up to Tustin on Saturday to meet me at 2 o'clock for the seminar. When you really want something, you'll make it happen. The next question he had was, well, who's going to take care of the baby? And I had my friend Natalie Bernal show up, and she insisted I not pay her, but we're going to give her some tickets for her, Eric, and her daughter to watch some movies, a movie at the Sinopolis theater. She'd never heard of it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, you are missing out. We're gonna get you some. And that wasn't my idea. That was Andrew's idea. And yes, things do cost money. And so when you want something, time and money are things you're gonna have to give up. And if you don't have the time, make the time, figure it out. And if you don't have the money, get creative. So my friend Debbie was like, well, when she had brought it up, it's weird how the whole thing just kind of came up because she hasn't talked about it in a while. Um, I'm just going to try to convince someone once. And if it's not your cup of tea, I'm not going to try to convince you again. But when I told her, look, this is, it's worth for me the 150 a month. And she's like, that's it? 150? I mean, it is 150, but for me, I get so much out of it. And she sees, and I told her all of the benefits, all the ways that I have benefited, that I could not have benefited if I did not join the club. And again, this video is really about how I do things, but tied in the essence of her text was about, how I went about joining a club that has benefited me tremendously, benefiting my business, benefited my family. And I'm excited to know that Angela wants to go to more of these seminars on her own. I didn't ask her what happened at that seminar, but she came out pumped, and that's what I want from a 14-year-old. Someone who, since she was 9, my kids have been listening to this training since Angeline was 4, and since Anais was in utero, and since Tommy was in utero. That's how you raise powerful kids. And my kids play violin, and Anais goes to jiu-jitsu once a week. She dances 7 hours a week. During the summer, I'm going to be having her train jiu-jitsu 4 times a week. She was training twice a week. And they play violin every week. It keeps them focused. It keeps them strong. It keeps their minds and bodies strong. And I love the Waldorf education. So, I'm constantly thinking about how their lives can improve by everything that they can focus on. Focus is basically how I run things in my home. What did I say? I need this to make my life better. I want to invest in myself because how things are is not enough for me. I wrote that for her because there are some doubts that she has in herself. And I've been mentoring her for a while, and it didn't occur to me that I've been mentoring her for a while until she asked me all these questions. And I realized, for all these years, I've been that kind of source for her. And let's revisit that. I want to invest in myself, in this case, in gin, for someone who wants to join a martial art, for someone who wants to write a book, for someone who wants to start a business. Whatever the case is, it's an investment in yourself. Because how things are is not enough for me. Because if she was totally happy, which maybe you shouldn't be totally happy because then you don't need any more. But I like to feel I'm totally happy, but there's always that yearning for just a little more. Publishing my book that I have. One of the books is 146 plus pages. The other book is over 100 pages. Just wanting a little more. Wanting to do more in my practice. How I can serve more. How I can be more effective as an acupuncturist. That's what I mean about more. And by serving more, I receive more. It's the law of reciprocation. I am worth taking the risk for. I want to live my life the way I know. I want to live my way, and I know it will pay off. That song by Frank Sinatra, I Did It My Way, it's been sung by Elvis. It's been sung by how many people? Watch America's Got Talent or Britain's Got Talent, and how many people sing that song, and when they nail it, get standing applauses, because that song means so much. To do something our way, to do it my way. I've created a certain set of tools, skills that I do really well, and I do it my way. I watch other speakers and I think how I want to be a better speaker. I read books all the time, and I think about how I want to be a writer like them, or even better, how I can be an effective communicator. I watch the people who I am inspired by in regards to Chinese medicine, and I think how I want to be like them, if not better, if it's at all possible. So that's how it is your way. So again, I'm not focusing on doing things so I don't piss off my husband. I'm doing things so I can be better. And if anything, I hope that makes me sexier to my husband. If anything, I hope it makes things like inspires my husband. One thing that he shared with me is that there have been people in his life who kind of teased him for like, making more money than him, or these are his words, or I can't believe you let your wife have a business. I can't believe you let your wife make more money. I can't believe you let your wife do jiu-jitsu. I can't believe you let your wife do a play. I can't believe you let your wife join gym. I can't believe let your wife do whatever. Go to these seminars, compete jiu-jitsu, whatever. And what I'm proud of my husband because he stood up to these people, his friends, and whoever said that and said, I don't let her do anything. She does it herself because he knows that when I do things, it nurtures the whole family. And so, it made me realize why God introduced me to him, to marry him, because maybe it would be very hard for other people to be married to me because they wouldn't let me be able to fly. Wouldn't you rather be with someone who'll let you fly than to cage you? Just something to think about. I would rather live chasing my dreams rather than die with my heart filled with dreams yet manifested. And I shared that earlier. If things aren't going your desired way, you need to focus on a different approach. You can't keep doing things the same way, expecting different and better results. There's that Chinese saying, if you're doing things the same way over and over and over, expecting different results, you're an insane person. So that's revisiting that statement. And when you keep telling yourself the same story, you'll keep getting the same stories ending. So when she was saying, he's always angry when I say these things, well, if she keeps focusing on what he's angry about, guess what he's going to do? He's just going to keep getting angry. And they'll keep fighting. I shared with you a little bit about my mom's story. I'm going to share with you, I've got 6 minutes before my next patient comes in. And this is why I wanted to make this video because, I'm sorry, I'm a little congested. I normally have clear sinuses, but yesterday we took these amazing photos with our friends, with our friend Karen Achurero, who's doing her thing, taking amazing photos, and they just take wonderful photos. They used to be in the wedding photography business. They did that solid for many years, but then now their kids are growing. The kids are young, and it was just taking up every weekend. So now Karen does these family photos. So if you ever want family photos, contact me and I'll send you Karen Charles information. We took photos in Carlsbad, and I can't wait to see them. They're just going to be lovely, especially because we took them with our 2 dogs. We've got Staffordshire Bull Terriers. One is turning 12 this month, and the other one is 5. So I want to mention my friend Chris Shaw because she is a badass. She is one of the first 10 female Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts in the country, in the U.S. And I should really need to just sit down and talk with her. Chris, if I could, I'd love to interview you. She is the owner of BJJ Legends magazine, I believe. And she interviews all these, Hickson Gracie and all these, stars around the world. And being one of the first 10 female black belts in the sport in the U.S. and being a leader in regards to, being an author and also being a mom of 4 girls. I want to say 4 girls. Chris, if it's 3, forgive me, but I believe it's 4. And she's a powerful mom, and she has her degrees in computer science and arts. And she's counseled me tremendously. So, Chris, we need to sit down and talk, and you got to tell your story to everyone and reach my people because I'm very much admired by this woman. But the reason I'm bringing her up here is because this is a woman who's made her own sacrifices as a woman, as a wife, as a mom in order to make her dreams come true. If you think it was easy for her to become a black belt in jiu-jitsu, let me just tell you, in the beginning, no one would even let her into a gym, much less train. She had to bulldoze herself into a jiu-jitsu gym because so many people wouldn't even let her, would just hang up on her because at that time they weren't accepting women in jiu-jitsu schools. So just wanted to, we'll have to talk more about Chris. And then there's my coach with BTT Long Beach, Kristen Davidson, who is their only female black belt who has unlimited martial arts. Go visit their website. And do visit BJJ Legends magazine for Chris Shaw and visit her Facebook page because she does amazing things. She trains out of, God, oh, Chingia. The name sometimes eludes me. And it's not just me. I'm sure other people have a hard time, but I'm sorry. I'm glad I remembered right now. But Kristen Davidson, she used to be a pro female wrestler with Women of Wrestling. She was a disciplinarian. And she worked with special needs. She has an acting, drama, theater degree from UCSD. And she is, like I said, one of the only female black belt out of Brazilian Top Team Long Beach. And she's a badass in her own way in so many rights. But do visit her website, Unlimited Possibilities Martial Arts. She trains special needs kids, and she only trains special needs kids. So if you have a special needs child of any kind, she teaches in Buena Park. And I love her to pieces. I love both of those women, Chris Shaw and Kristen Davidson. Kristen really has trailblazed her way to her own stardom, her own, level of successes. And I refer people to her all the time. The last time she was here in my office, I treat her. I've treated both of them. My patient, Tara, came by. She goes, I know you. And she was like, how do I know you? And I told her who she was. And it was hilarious because Tara goes, you roll with Anna. And I'm like, oh, yeah, because I'm a blue belt. She goes, oh, yeah, she rolls with me. Kristen was like, oh, yeah, I'm so lucky I roll with her. No, it's more like I roll with her. So, no, it cuts the other way around. And the reason why I do jiu-jitsu is because of my dear friend Melissa Davis. Dr. Melissa Davis, she has her PhD in neuroscience, and neuroscience is something that I'm just fascinated by. And you know what? Give me 1 second. My patient just walked in. I'm going to tell him his chair is ready. Hi, Brian. I'll be right there. The chair's ready. Thanks. Okay, sorry to disappear on you. This is a much longer video than I expected it to be. It's 57 minutes already, but I'll breeze through this really fast. Dr. Melissa Davis is a black belt with Professor Jiva at One Jiu-Jitsu, and it broke my heart when she used to train at BTT Orange County, but then she left, and for her own personal reasons. But we've kept in touch, and I love her to pieces. And that is a woman who does not let anyone stand in her way. She's trained, she's competed in Abu Dhabi how many times. So if you don't know who Dr. Melissa Davis is, please visit her website. And if you're a female, little girl, or older woman, you definitely want to follow her because she is really kicking butt and taking names, and she still means the world to me. I'm going to mention someone in my gym, Mrs. Dina Noblin. She's very important to me because at our gym, she's our highest female. And if you notice, all these women are all jiu-jitsu women, but they're all very successful in their own ways. Chris Shaw is a college graduate. Kristen Davison is a college graduate. Melissa Davis has a PhD. And Dina Noblin this year became a grandma, and she got her brown belt. I mean, how badass is that? Let me ask you a question. These women, do you think they were sitting there saying to themselves, how can I do these things and not piss off my husband or not piss off my boyfriend? No, they're trailblazing. They're doing what they want. They didn't say, hey, can I do this? If they did do that, I'm sure it was more like, I'm going to do this. Not only that, Dina Noblin, I think last year Dina, and we call her Uncle Dina, what did she do last year? She got her yoga certificate. She disappeared for like 3-4 months, at least a couple of years, in order to be a yoga instructor. And she wasn't planning on being a yoga instructor, but she said, I'll do it, because her niece was saying, I'm going to do it. She goes, and Dina, you want to do it with us? Do you want to do it with me? And she goes, okay, I'll do it. And so she went ahead and did it. Again, she just went ahead and said, I'm going to do this. Dr. Eileen Hahn, she is Dr. Tan's top student. I'm one of Dr. Tan's senior students, but Dr. Eileen Hahn had been my colleague when Dr. Tan was alive. Grandmaster Dr. Richard Tefu Tan. For those of you who don't know, I named my son Thomas Tefu Andrew after Dr. Tefu, Dr. Richard Tan. And anyways, Eileen also is a woman who has a very busy practice. She teaches around the world, and she just makes decisions that's correct for her. And now she's created a panel of speakers, and I'm so blessed to be one of those people on the panel. Go to the Academy of Acupuncture.com and you'll see that I'm on the faculty. I'll be teaching the business acumen for acupuncturists, and I'm very excited about that. And one more woman, because I'm listening to my patient. He's ready for me now, but I'm glad that it's now 1 hour. Oh my gosh, this is by far the longest video. But I didn't realize I was going to be so passionate about this particular topic. Summer Blaze. Summer Blaze, Summer Blazer. But Summer, I see you, boo-boo. I see you. I see you just killing it. I see you just doing what you got to do to make things happen. She has a direct sales business, and my mentor became a multimillionaire in the direct sales industry. So I see you, Summer. I see you just kicking butt. And I see your videos. I see how inspired you are. I see your accomplishments. And again, another woman who's very driven. I don't think she asked for permission. And she just, fucking goes and gets it. Go-getters. That's what I'm inspired by. So pardon my French, but those are some of the women. I mentioned my mom, and I mentioned Eileen and Summer, and they have nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. Summer and I met in a dance class, Milo's hip-hop class, at Renaissance. But and there are so many other women that I'm just so proud of, that I just am so proud to call them friends. But there are 4 specifically that are martial artists that can take, guys on the mat and make them feel inferior. So it's not about doing something and hoping that my husband doesn't get pissed off. It's about doing what I need to do to improve myself. And if you ask any of these women, including my mom, it's whatever they need to do to make themselves happy, and then go from there in order to achieve the goals that they want. So anyways, that is, I think, my 16th vlog for the Happy Club. If you want to join, this one's a free one. But I'm making a video. My next video really has to be being happy with where you're at. But it's $10 a month to join. It's only $10, you guys. It's no other fee. Just join. It's $10, and you get all these videos, and you'll get a lot of mentorship from me. I just love to help. And that's because Chris, my mentor, helps me a lot. So I want to be there for you guys. Many of you don't have access to Chris or people who are worth that much. And I'm not worth that much yet, but I have my own value. And if what you hear is something that you want to hear more of, there are some things that I share in videos that I don't share publicly. So do join. Go to committedtobetterme.com, members only. Join for $10 a month. If you join for $100 a month, you get a free hour a month consultation with me. Normally it's $200 a month, but it's instead of the whole $100 a month, you get all the videos, and you get counseling with me every month for an hour. And sometimes I go a little longer. All right, just like this video. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you feel inspired. And if you get a chance, watch on YouTube The Power of a Growth Mindset by Tom Bilyeu. All right, you have a great day. Take care.